Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello and welcome to our course Marketing Management Part 2. We are in week 2 and this is session 3. We are talking about product life cycle management. I am Shashi, Shekhar, Mishra and I have with me my senior colleague Professor Jayanta, Chatterjee.
Hello.
We are from Department of Industrial and Management Engineering, IIT Kanpur. So, just to give you a recap of what we were discussing in couple of previous sessions, we started talking about new product development process, and then we started talking about how this new product development process has been conceptualized in this stage gate system, wherein the different stages of new product development process have been the different activities of similar type have been kept inside the stages of this stage gate system, and at the end of each of these stages you have a gate. Now, what happens at the end of the each gate is that you have a predetermined criteria for evaluating what is the progress at each stage, and this is where the go or no go decision happens at the organization level. So, whatever is the progress of the probably activities in that stage, based on that the process moves further. Now, we have started talking about ideation and screening. Professor Chatterjee in the previous couple of sessions has talked in detail and in depth about ideation and screening. He has talked about the concept development and testing. Prototyping concept was also discussed, like so that you can come out or you can think of what is the next big idea, and then he started talking about evaluating those ideas from the customer benefits point of view and the seller benefits point of view. So, we have looked into the different parameters from the customer benefit side and firm side, and as we progress from the different stages of this stage gate system, you can see after basically this once you have tested your prototype design and then you are ready for a production, at the same time you will see that the concurrent activities are also started at this stage 6, where the design of marketing plan and launch is getting ready, and once this product is being readied for the market, it is launched and it goes through the different stages in its product life cycle. Every product basically is said to have a life cycle. When we say that a product has a life cycle, then what we mean is that that it goes through the certain stages in its life cycle. However, before I move into the PLC concept, I will just say you couple of things is that I will like to consolidate the learnings from the previous session, and as you can recall that it is suggested that when you basically progress in this NPD process, you fail early, or you can say that the larger number of the ideas or the better you work on your fuzzy front end, it is good for you, because the robust your work is at the earlier stages of new product development process, the chances of your success at the later stage or the launch stage is very high. Another point here is that as you proceed further, you will understand that in each stages there is a input of resources from the organization side, and mind it, it is not just financial resources, it is the important time of your some of the best people in the organization that goes into each of these ideas or the product that you want to pursue as an organization. And if you fail at the later stages, you can understand that as an organization you are incurring a huge cost, as well as you are losing probably some of the good opportunities, because when you choose something you also leave something. So, those are some of the important things that one has to keep in mind when he is going through this NPD process.
And I think we should also highlight the importance of the recursive loop or the reiteration. That means up to this stage, that means we have a prototype design, we should have no hesitation to go back to the original drawing board or any of these stage. So, these are the stage 1, 2, 3 and maybe stage 4. These are the 4 stages where we have the freedom, and it is much better, as you rightly pointed out, that this is the stage where we may fail or we may have some problem, and we should have no hesitation at that stage to abandon, even abandon an original idea and completely revisit if required, because beyond this stage it becomes very costly if we have conceived the product wrongly.
Because once you go into the production process, you have invested in the facilities, you have invested
Machines,
in the plants,
tools,
plant technology. So, all those things are very costly investment from the organizational point of view, and if you fail there, then it is a lost opportunity, and to some organization it can cost that they go out of the business also. Now, so basically one must keep in mind that some of the ideas which you have talked about, that looking at the feasibility from the user need side, looking at the feasibility from the technology side, looking at the feasibility from the business case side. See, these are some of the important criteria that should be kept in mind, and then back and forth work, if it is required, people should not hesitate, or the team should not hesitate during this process. So, we will move further from here, and we will start talking about another important concept, which is product life cycle. And when we say that a product has a life cycle, what it means? It basically means, or it asserts, that a product has a limited life, whether it is a 6 months or a 6 year or a 60 years or probably a century. However, whatever is the number, that number is basically says that every product has a limited life cycle. Then basically the next thing is that sales of a product, when it is launched in the market, over the period of time it passes through the different stages, and each of these stages have their own challenges, have their own opportunities and problems for the seller, and basically because of the specific nature of the problem at the different stages, it is basically desirable that you deal with those opportunities, challenges and the problems in their specific context actually. Then, as you can understand, with these stages the profits also vary at the different stages of life cycles, and because of these things product require different functional strategies. So, you need adaptation in your functional strategies when you pass through the different stages of product life cycle. However, what is seen is that many a times it is in practical world it is not so easy, so to understand whether your product is basically has crossed that introduction stage, or it has gone into the growth stage, or probably it is in the transition. So, wherever there is a transition in particular, there is a difficulty in understanding or basically pointing out that this is you have progressed to the next stage, and that is why the changes in the, I mean, many times marketeers changed to make any adaptation in their strategy because of the failure in identifying that the product has phased into a next stage actually.
And I would like to point out, if we go back to the life cycle, that no, not this one, the PLC diagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
yes,
this is the next slide where the sales and the profits have been plotted over the point over the time, and you can see that sales has been shown in this first curve, which is in the form of a bell curve, or you can say sort of normal distribution curve, and there are 4 stages which are said to be present in any product life cycle. Though you will find out from the product to product, different product category, different industry, different region, the shape of the curve may vary a little bit, or it will change with the specificity of that product, but you will see that generally it is observed that a product will go through these 4 stages: introduction, growth, maturity and decline. And mind it, in the introduction stage you have this development stage also involved, and that is why when I plot this profit curve over the period of time, you will see that in this introduction stage your profits are on the negative side, because you have invested into the R&D for bringing up the product into the market, and then you have invested money in the communication program so that your customers and your channel partners know about the product, and you will also be basically putting money in creating the inventory, logistics, acquiring the distribution channels. All those things will be probably a very resource intensive in terms of the time, money as well as people. So, you will see that profits are on a lower side or the negative side, and company is not getting any revenue as till the point it is not come into the market and consumers start purchasing it. But once you start getting beyond a point, you will see that the profit goes into the next stage, that they become on the positive side. So,
I think at this stage I would like to make 2 points. Maybe one of those points we can discuss in detail, that is you can see that this graph here is a concave graph, almost exponential. So, therefore, this is a period when small efforts, small investment in marketing and sales effort can produce exceptionally better result, whereas here it is more like a straight line. So, here we will have proportional gain with respect to effort, and this is where we get a convex graph. That means we will possibly start getting lesser and lesser result out of more and more effort. But a very interesting point is that in new products, often companies see exceptional growth during this stage and they get overexcited, and they often actually forget that, as Moore has pointed out, that this is the point where many products fail. That means a product which has been accepted by the initial buyers like innovators or early adopters, that product may have features which are not compatible with the early majority, and as a result a gap develops here, and which is called the chasm theory, and the product fails at this particular point. This is an important point to remember. And the second point is that the marketing strategy at each one of these stages will change, because this is the place where maybe no standard has emerged. This is actually fight is on the basis of differentiation here. So, we say that this is the period of product leadership, as that book called Discipline of Market Leaders, they talk about it. And then in the second stage, by that time some standard has emerged, and there are therefore a dominant design has come about. So, here therefore, there is no longer much of an opportunity to distinguish yourself by features. So, this is the period when low cost is a primary strategy. So, operational excellence which leads to low cost. So, here it is product leadership, and here it is operational excellence. Whereas, at this stage where the market has saturated, you may have to discover niche markets at that stage. So, the focus strategy which Michael Porter talked about, or here we can say focus on individual customer or customer intimacy. So, the strategy goes from product leadership to operational excellence to customer focus and this customer intimacy oriented strategy. So, the marketing strategy emphasis will change, or even organizational strategy, as you rightly pointed out, that the functional strategies will evolve as the product evolves.
So, we will talk about all these specific adaptation in the marketing strategy over the different stages in couple of further slides, and in the session that we will continue next. So, when we will talk about product life cycle, however, this concept can be used to analyze a product category, as well as you can see it can be applied for a product form, it can be applied to a product as well as a brand. So, you can see the product category, another example could be IC engine based automotives, a product form could be 4-wheeler, a product could be a car, probably SUV, or probably a other form of a
sedan or something.
and then a brand could be a Maruti, you can talk about BMW or Volkswagen or any of the brands. So, you can see that the product life cycle concept can be applied across all these 4.
This is also a very good example that you have given, that the category is fabric wash, then comes washing detergent, then comes liquid detergent,
Yeah.
and then comes Godrej Easy. So, this inner nature of a particular new product, that means a new product has to be thought of on this canvas. These
Yeah.
are the dimensions on which it must be thought about.
Yeah. If it creates basically a new product category, supposedly a new product comes out which creates a different way of washing your cloth, then probably or cleaning your cloth, supposedly you come out with a new technological advancement where clothes are given a different kind of treatment from the light or heat or something, and that sanitizes the clothes. So, it opens up basically as a new product category.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, the NPD, a new product development, if it is at this stage, then the marketing strategy will
has
be
to be.
very radical,
Yes.
very new.
So,
whereas here it is just another
Yeah.
brand
Yeah.
within this liquid detergent category.
Yeah.
So, again here the marketing strategy will have to be
Absolutely different.
different.
Yes. Now, another point I would.
I saw that you had fashion and fad, maybe you can
Yeah.
talk about it.
These are basically special type of product life cycle things like fashion and fad, like
Which is a very sharp
yeah.
rise
So,
and
fad
sharp
is
depth.
yeah, sharp probably increment in the sales, and then suddenly it comes down also.
Like summer fashion,
Summer fashion,
it goes out of
Yeah.
fashion as soon
Yeah.
as summer is over.
Yeah.
So, there will be a sharp rise and then there will be a,
Yeah.
it will disappear when winter comes.
Yeah, and with fashion there is a thing like fashion is a sort of cyclical, it will go back in, it will again come. So, that's it is a cyclic in nature. Okay. Now, first stage that comes in this product product life cycle is this introduction stage. Now, in the introduction stage, you have basically two choices in the sense like whether you are a pioneer or you are a follower. Now, what are the advantage of being a pioneer, or what are the advantage of being a follower or the early leader? Actually, the Professor Gerald Tillis and Golder call them as a early leaders actually in the market. So, there are basically advantages and disadvantage of being pioneer or the first to the market, and there are advantages and disadvantage to being a follower or basically the early leaders in the market also. Now, you will see that there is no conclusive evidence that which strategy is better, but we can characterize roughly like which of these two is better off. Now, in terms of the introduction stage, first we need to understand what happens inside the introduction stage. So, it takes time basically to roll out the product in the market, and you can see that when the product comes into the market, it initially has some of the technical problem. Any new product that comes out, generally you will observe that there are problems. We have discussed the case of this Tata Nano when it came in, or Marco Polo buses when they came into the Indian market, they had the issues, technical problems, and they had a repercussions on the brand image of the organization as well as the sales or the future of that product also. Then you will also see that generally new product comes out and new facilities are basically put up for creating that production of those new product, and then you, as you can understand, that initial days of the initial time of this production or the operation is not streamlined. It takes a bit of time for the operations people to get those production processes streamlined. So, you will also see that variability in the quality of the product
correct.
at the initial stages, but it is very basically common thing that over a period of time all these problems can get
Sorted out.
Yeah. And then the next thing is that fill dealers pipeline is another thing, that if you are launching the product the nationwide or probably to a bigger region, you will take some time to fill the dealers pipeline, and you have to ensure that when you say that your product has been launched and the customer comes to the the place to purchase that product,
It must be available.
it must be available to the customer, because
Otherwise, the marketing effort will boomerang.
yeah, it will boomerang, because if the product fails at the trial stage, then it is probably a big disaster for the company. And the last thing that that characterizes the, and which is very important, probably the most important, is gain from the customer acceptance. So, customers basically slowly observe or come to notice about the product, and then they try it, and then they accept it. And very importantly, the later stages, what becomes the most important thing is that they start talking about it, which you have talked about, that one of the important criteria, that whether the customer will talk about that new product idea to the other customers.
Exactly, which will cause repeat purchase.
Yeah, repeat purchase as
by
well,
the first purchases as well as
and a recommendation
based purchase
Yeah.
for others.
for others. So, that basically helps your product to proceed or to diffuse in the market. So, another thing which you will see in this introduction stage is, it is characterized by the low capacity utilization, high unit cost. So, what happens is, when we basically come out with a product and we put a facility anywhere for production, we will see that the facilities are put to the maximum possible market potential. So, if a basically plant has been put for a capacity of 5,000 ton for a washing detergent, but you will see that as soon as the product comes, the plant will not be running at that its full capacity. And what happens in that case is, your total fixed cost is there, okay, and now this fixed cost has to get divided over the unit cost, since the sales in the initial stages of the, I mean that introduction stages
is ramping up.
So, your unit fixed cost is on a higher side, and because of that your total cost is also on the higher side. And because of this, you will see that overall unit, I mean this stage is characterized by high unit cost.
And this is an important point. Later on we can see that in pricing,
Yeah,
if we actually fix our pricing based on this higher unit fixed cost,
yeah,
then we may actually artificially inflate the price, and
yeah.
we may actually fail. So, it is very important to actually see what will be the longer term
Yeah.
steady state
Yeah.
volume,
Yeah.
and based on that one should actually estimate the this unit fixed
A little,
cost,
yeah, what you
or
are-
overhead allocation,
Yeah, yeah.
etc.
So, what you are talking about is, I have kept a little bit of discussion in product life cycle management about skimming versus penetration strategy also, that we will discuss in the next session.
Very good.
And the last point which is very important in this introduction stage is that you will see that in the introduction stage, company has to, generally it is observed that companies have to spend a lot of money in the promotional strategy, implementation of its promotional strategy, because you have to ensure that the customers notice about your product, and that informing potential consumers requires a lot of effort from the company side, and may require a lot of financial support also, in terms of the money that you put in advertising, you put into the different vehicles of the communication strategy. And another thing that could basically ask for the, or probably demand the resources, is that how you induce trial. So, sometimes you induce trial by giving the small sachet to free trial sachets to the customer, or probably you create a different way of,
Or you buy a very chalu brand or a major brand, and then you give your new
Absolutely.
product as an add on.
yeah,
Like if you buy the mosquito repellent, then you get a new flavor of soap as an extra,
Yeah.
which is actually in a way to promote that new soap brand,
yeah, to try.
by taking the advantage of another product which Godrej has, which is, say for example, All Out. So, you kind of leverage a new soap brand with an existing strong brand in your
To
stable.
increase, and this will also require resources.
Obviously, so that is this product trial, and we have discussed already a little while
detail,
back this whole issue of
Yeah.
trialability and so on,
Yeah.
and we will talk about it again. But
yeah.
the most important point here is that to remember that in a new product we need this push pull.
Yeah.
That means there has to be pull created through promotion by the product manufacturer,
Yeah.
And then only if there is a pull, then only the distribution, the retail
Yeah.
outlets
Or,
will
yeah.
start pushing it.
Yeah, or if you have to push from your side, you have to give a distributor some extra margin.
Yes.
So, if you are securing the shelf space at the distribution level, actually you are buying the shelf space.
Correct.
So, that is also additional cost and
Resource
the initial,
investment,
yeah.
yes.
So,
And an entrepreneurial company, their marketing in this case will be little different, from a large organization. They may not have enough resources to do this.
yeah.
And today they have the advantage, they can take make use of social media, they can create the buzz
yeah.
at a much lower cost than it used to take earlier.
Yeah, I think the emergence of the e-commerce has also given a lot of space to these new startups or the entrepreneurial efforts,
Because they can
that,
reach the
yeah,
market at a much lower cost.
much lower cost. So, this challenge of distribution in India has been slightly, I mean you can say in some areas it has come down, it is not as it was earlier. So, I will stop this session here. When we will meet in the next session, we will talk about some of the strategic choices or some of the things which are present in the in front of the marketeers, and then we will also talk about the later stages or the other stages of product life cycle management. For now, thank you very much.
Thank you.